North America, history is made by a joint American-Canadian expedition as powerful icebreakers slash their way through floes 10 feet thick, the ice-locked home of the walrus.
I haven't seen that yet. Quite a piece of history. For centuries, Arctic explorers have sought new trade routes through the icy expanses of Earth's most northern reaches. Now, with traditional shipping routes disrupted in a fast-changing Arctic climate, one Chinese shipping company is launching a weekly service over the remote trade route. It's being dubbed the Ice Silk Road, connecting the cities of Ningbo on China's east coast to Felixstowe in the UK via the northern coast of Russia. If it all goes to plan, it should cut through the traditional 40-day voyage between the two ports by about half. That's a lot. It depends, though, on conditions in the Arctic Circle, which can be at times perilous. Michelle Wise-Bachman is a maritime intelligence analyst at Windward, and she joins us now. Good to have you on the program. I mean, look, Russia, China, Canada, the U.S., Europe, they have all been eyeing this route for the better part of 2 decades. You know, have recent developments geopolitically made it even more appealing? Because the Arctic routes, they do come with specific challenges.
Good evening. Yes, I do think that geopolitics is definitely shaping this trade flow more than the commercial viability. There have been lots of test routes done over the past 10, 15 years, but China has been seeking a greater and more active role in the Arctic. It declared itself a near-Arctic state back in 2018, and I think this signals closer cooperation with Russia and China in the area as much as it does as a commercial breakthrough for the Arctic.
It is the shortest maritime route between Asia and Europe. I'm wondering, how do we expect the route to change as the planet warms? Because, of course, in many of these instances, you would have needed icebreakers. And yet, at some times of the year, in some locations of the Arctic, that's just not true anymore.
No, there's no guarantee of an ice-free summer with the Northern Sea route, but increasingly, you know, there's been a reduction in the oldest, thickest multi-year ice by 95% since the 1970s, and there are forecasts of an ice-free summer Arctic in, you know, as soon as 2030. So there is commercial potential, but that said, I believe that the economic viability and the fact that it goes through Russian territorial waters and the economic exclusion zone, and you need Russian nuclear icebreakers, you know, will deter most Western affiliated and European ship owners from taking part in these services.
You make a good point there, given the hold that Russia and China already have on the route. And as much as some countries believe the Arctic route as well is too environmentally fragile to be used as a credible substitute to other routes. But as you just pointed out, China and Russia are well underway with this. Is this destined to become another great power struggle? Because right now we're talking about it as an alternate route, and yet in years to come, it may just become another choke point. I know already in terms of territorial claims, it's already quite controversial in the Arctic.
Well, already we're seeing what looks to be like record volumes of Russian oil and gas going through the Northern Sea route. Windward tracked a convoy of 8 Shadow Fleet tankers that were going through, and that was in order to avoid going via European coastal states in the Mediterranean, where those ships have been boarded or interdicted by naval forces there, and also their LNG carriers from their 2 LNG projects there had to go to Asia over the winter, the long way around via the Cape of Good Hope to the, you know, one of the most southernmost tips of the planet, in order to avoid the Mediterranean and going via the Suez Canal, where a Russian LNG carrier was attacked by a drone in March. So certainly there are time savings which are obvious, but geopolitically it makes sense for Russia and China to link through the Northern Sea route while they can.
And you believe this will help happen more and more, whether or not there is a resolution in the Strait or otherwise? I mean, as I said, this has been going on for the better part of 2 decades. They've had their eye on the Arctic for quite some time.
That's true. And the commercial viability has never, you know, been properly tested. And you have to remember that this inaugural commercial route, these ships are about, I think there's 8 voyages. These ships are about a quarter of the size of the Ever Given, which is that large container ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal. And so they're quite small ships, for that vessel class size, large for the Arctic, and the total volume that will be delivered over that 3-month period will probably equate to just 1 or 2 very large container ships overall. So again, I think it's more about geopolitical strategy than any, real commercial or profitable route for China.
But given you were just talking about the shadow fleet there, again, if you're trying to evade sanctions, it is obviously useful. We only have about a minute left, but, countries like Canada, the European Union have expressed concerns about how fragile it is in the Arctic and environmental concerns. I mean, do you think China and Russia will just ignore that and continue to make this a more viable commercial route?
Well, certainly, in the last few years, we've watched Russia send non-ice classed shadow fleet tankers through the Northern Sea route, which is environmentally quite a reckless proposition because of the risk of oil spills. So, Russia and China, especially when it comes to the shipping and the receiving of sanctioned oil, have showed, no respect for international maritime regulations. So, I mean, I'm not saying that will be the case now, but if you look at the precedents that have been set already, that's obviously one of the appeals of going there, because you avoid any Western touch points.
Yeah, and that is key. You just said it. You avoid any Western touch points. And I note that the International Maritime Organization has also said that Russia and China should be aware of how fragile the Arctic is.
大家好，我是主播周玉琴。很多的朋友告诉我们，选择原版的太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，它添加有羽衣甘蓝，健康再加分。而有睡眠困扰的朋友们，赶快选择蓝色包装这一款晚安加强版，绝对是更有感。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good， 请上快点购为健康下单，而且要记得输入推荐代码，有额外的折扣优惠。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌基础版、晚安加强版新包装改版，内容不变，抽取更方便。要吃就吃最好的。